This is guy. I mean, his book. He's the guy.
All right, first things first, who here can drive stick?
He was driving stick most of the time. It was very funny because both the dad and Katie, who plays Quinn, they did not know how to drive stick, of course. And
I don't.
I
That's
believe
why
he
I
was
asked.
teaching him how to drive stick. BJ is, by the way, he's the stunt man who played Frendo.
Yeah, you were
So
the
we just
lead.
all of the running through the cornfield with the chainsaw, the chopping off of his head with the weights, all of that stuff. And by the way, and not just was he the man who played him, he also rigged most of the stunts, so he was doing so much behind the scenes.
So your title is stunt coordinator?
Yeah, BJ, you got a stunt coordinator title on this?
Yeah, that's right. Well, I shared the stunt coordinator credit. Rick Skeen also was on board, and between the two of us, when we came on, we just worked out all of the details for all of the gore and the fun, crazy stuff. So.
Well, okay, we'll bring it back around in a second.
We'll bring it back around.
But BJ,
yeah, go ahead.
Were there any stunts where you were like, oh, this is gonna be tough?
Tricky?
Yeah.
Yeah, there were a few. Yeah. Basically, I don't know, it was about page 40 where about 1 million clowns come out of the cornfield. I was like, it just didn't stop. So we had to kind of triage it in terms of like, okay, what are the craziest and most complex things that we need to deal with? The biggest one I think that we had to do was when he crashes through the door and he knocks over the scaffold and Cole lands on the roof. That was a pretty challenging one, just because there was a lot of moving parts. You're driving a vehicle
a guy
blind,
hanging above the car that you
suspended
don't
above
want
the
to get
vehicle.
hurt.
Yeah. Also, even just the opening one there, where we're in the corn. I mean, we had like a 100-foot crane boomed over the corn because it was so deep in there.
Now, did someone assemble a field of corn for the film, or was it a pre-existing?
No, I
field
get
of corn?
upset by this question. Like,
Hey, tell
Good
me
one,
your-
Katie.
what budget do you think we have here?
I don't know.
We were in Winnipeg, Manitoba, and we found a cornfield. And then we asked a farmer,
Were you like,
"Can we-
this is it?
Can
This
we
is
rent
the
out
cornfield."
a portion of your cornfield or buy it and film a movie in it?" And he was like, "I don't know, like what time of year are you gonna do that?" And we said, "Well, we're gonna shoot it right at the end of October, right before harvest season." But the problem was it was right during harvest season, so he was just like mowing down the crop and harvesting it as we're trying to run around and shoot. And our area of shooting kept getting smaller and smaller. Just leave us this little plot.
Yeah.
But no, it's very real. All that's accurate.
Well, another question for you, Eli, real quick. Were there ever times where you were having trouble keeping all your friendos apart?
Yes, but they were very distinguishable. You know, I'd be like, "You're Chainsaw Friendo, right?" And then I had Sledgehammer Friendo, and I had Frying Pan Friendo. They all had their own names, you know. And they
It
all
did get easier as they died, though. Like when we were filming, like, okay, crossbows out, crossbows dead.
I just love that this is a slasher film where we get to kill our slasher.
Yeah.
It's a kind of
You got so
enjoyable
many of
back
them,
and
it's a luxury.
But that's a spoiler, so everybody keep that part. Keep that part out of your
They
review.
saw the
They've seen
movie.
it already, but don't tell your friends. Just tell them May 9th in theaters.
Yeah.
Well, so Adam, we were talking before the show. There's a pretty significant change of tone between your book and, Eli's film version. Can both of you guys kind of talk about, like, I guess your initial reactions to it and just how it changed between the novel and the film?
I think the novel comes from a place of I love slashers to death. I was a teacher for a number of years, and I was a teacher when I was writing this book, and it really was like it's my first. For those of you who don't know, the books are young adult books. They're teen slashers. They're just as R-rated as this movie, but you don't know your kids are reading them. But like. It came from a place of I'd been writing for about 10 years. I'd been publishing adult horror novels for about 10 years, but I was working as a teacher, and I would come home every day. And teaching's a hard job, so I would like cry a little bit. And then I would like be like, okay, time to write the summer job now, and I would like start writing my books. And then at a certain point, I was just like, I need to write things that my kids, like the students, can read. And well, what's a genre that works for that? Slashers. But I was doing stuff like, if you teach, you have to do like shelter in place drills. You have to like, there's a chip clip above our door that if you remove the chip clip, it would drop a blind so that like an active shooter couldn't see you.
Oh, wow.
I mean, that's probably gonna stop an active shooter. Chip clips are the #1 defense we have against active shooters. But like, so like, that's really where like the book's coming from. The book is coming from the idea of like, what are teen anxieties now? They're not, a guy with a butcher knife like crashing your babysitter job. They're like someone with a gun in your school. So like that was like the impetus for the books, which is very, very heavy. Like there was a lot of laughter out there. Everyone was having a good time. I don't think anyone would have as good a time with be like, remember Sandy Hook? Like, so like, and not to make light of it, because it is a serious thing, but that is the tenor of the books. But I'm a huge slasher fan, I'm a huge horror fan, and I've been a fan of this guy for 15 years. I was day one at Best Buy to get the Tucker and Dale DVD on that Tuesday. Like I love that film. So, and I'm also someone that loves movies and loves horror cinema. So like the idea of like, oh, Eli Craig can adapt your book is the perfect thing to hear if you love slashers, if you love this genre. And I just love the film so much. But even though it's I like to say it's my story, it's my character shot through with your POV and your sense of humor and everything. And I love the film so much. And sorry, that was a very long answer to your
No, that's
question,
okay.
but
I'm going to lean a little more heavy
Eli
on the clown part and a little less on the
please.
Sandy Hook part.
I literally have clown written down on my notebook here.
No, I mean, I think that there's maybe a tiny kernel of like what he's talking about with that. But
That's what horror is, right?
Yeah.
It's taking anxieties and turning them into these cathartic
Exactly,
experiences.
but that we can do that with clowns. And we can also enjoy seeing it and kind of make fun of it all. And have, to me, I don't know if everybody does, like, do you guys like horror with a little bit of humor in it? I mean, there's so many people, the studios are like, Eli, you can't make movies like that. Like, they're just like, stop being funny.
And you're like, I can't help it.
I can't help it. I can't help sort of satirizing some of these things and just having fun with it. So I tried to have the suspense and the stakes that you had in the book, and then have just some of the absurdity of the whole thing. Because there's clowns attacking kids. Like, we have to have fun with this, right?
Yeah, I love what you did with squeaky clown shoe noises in this film. Honestly, brilliant. Can you talk a little bit about your use of squeaky clown shoe noises? Eli Craig?
Yeah, we had it's so funny. We had like the hero clown shoes in the opening shot, and they were not squeaky shoes. But in my mind, I was like, those shoes should squeak. And I was just watching it while we were shooting, and when we went into post, I started adding squeaks. And then I fell in love with it, so I put squeaks absolutely everywhere. And like, when the clowns all ran out of the corn, they were all like, squeak, 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 squeak. And I was like, maybe I have to cut back on some of this.
I want to see the full squeak cut. Yeah.
Release the squeak
Release
cut.
the squeak cut.
It was just too much. And then I dialed it back, and I realized there was maybe a middle ground of squeakiness that was perfect.
DVD release.
Yeah, there you go. The squeak cut is on the Blu-ray. So BJ, speaking of clowns, so when you were playing Friendo, what kind of things was Eli telling you about the physicality of the character? Because, we've seen a lot of killer clowns in slasher movies before. What did you bring that was unique to the character? And if you have something to say, Eli.
I said, hurry up.
Yeah, there was a lot of that actually. It was great. Like I just put on the mask and every day I would just be like pushing it a little more, and I'm like, one of these days he's gonna rein me in. I'm gonna do something. He's gonna be like, all right, we finally hit this point. You just not be headbutting the window or something like that, and it just never came. So, it was a lot of like, I felt like because there's a lot of different clowns. Whenever I was putting it on, I wanted to do things like in the physicality that maybe would differentiate it a little bit. Like I liked keeping the head still and having the shoulders moving when I'm like running with the chainsaw, or like doing like the RoboCop essentially. Like when if you think your victim's over this way, you like look, and then the shoulders follow, and then the hips and everything. So I just like to have these little moments where everything kind of had little articulations to it, I guess you could say.
I mean, it was really all BJ, and I just fell in love with it. And was there Did you guys like when he picked up the head in the beer cooler and then like dropped his head like this? And that was all him, and I was like, amazing. What was that from?
Actually, I think I was trying to emulate like Jim Carrey. I was like, what would he do if he was just...
I see it.
I was
Now
gonna
that you
say,
it, I see it.
this is like silent acting.
I was waiting
you
for him to
know?
rein me in, so...
What's your visibility like in there? Could you see anything?
You can see okay, but the mouth is closed, so yeah, there'd be times where, between takes we'd lift it up and get some of that oxygen going, and then we'd go back in again, but...
It's the running through a cornfield with the chainsaw, with the mask on.
Were you
You know-
chainsaw Friendo when you?
Yeah.
I'm not familiar with which Friendo you are.
Yeah, I did a lot. I was
That's
all
my favorite
chainsaw
shot in the
friendo,
movie.
and then I was subbing in for like certain scenes when
What you're
when
saying
there was
with the
kills.
shoulders, that's my favorite shot in the
Oh,
movie. Is when you run out of the thing. So I'm glad I get to tell you that.
There was two chainsaws. There was
They
like,
haven't met, so
Yeah.
this is the first
Yeah,
one.
this is the first meeting.
I love BJ. I love Mimi though. Yeah.
a big fan of you, Adam, too. Yeah, love you, man.
Well, a little bit on the directing side, Eli. There's a line in the film about, this town is stuck in the 90s. Was there any way that you worked that in, kind of in, your vision for the town?
It was stuck in the past, I mean,
Yeah.
the 90s was the generation, I mean, I'm from the 90s, I guess. I felt like all the older people in this town were more like Gen X than baby boomers, but it could have worked the same way for baby boomers. It does, my son said to me once, I was playing music for him, and he said, Dad, the 80s are as far away from me as the 40s are to
Oh,
me.
no way.
And so that's a line literally from my son saying that to me, and I thought, oh, Jesus, that sums up this movie.
Is that Noah?
That's Noah, yeah.
Noah gets shot in the head in the movie. He's hey, that's Friendo. That's his son. That's the context.
I had to cast long and far for that role, and I landed back with my son. I was like, I'm killing you. It's so fun to be a dad and a director. You get to kill all your family members, and I've killed my wife, my mom, myself, and now my son. So.
That's a family annihilation.
Yeah.
We're keeping it light with the family annihilation. Thank you.
Okay, we have a couple of minutes. Does anybody in the audience here or over here on the side? Real loud, I'll repeat, but.
Will Sasso. I love Will Sasso.
Will Sasso.
Because I love him too, and I reached out to him and I thought he would be the perfect cop because he's so big and imposing, right? But he also he's so humorous, and there's something about that character. And thank you for noticing. There's something about Sheriff Dunn that I love that he seems innocently humorous. Like he's kind of just. He's not really a terrible person. He's trying to even validate himself. He's like, I told you to stay away from those kids. I don't know. There's something about that to have like a villain that is also has like a good heart and is sort of funny that I really wanted for that character. And Will, he said yes, and he came out and it's really funny because Will's the kind of guy that he showed up really quick, stepped right into that diner scene. That's the first time I basically saw him. And we didn't get a lot of, he never auditioned. I just asked him to do it, and he didn't rehearse with us because he didn't have time. So he shows up to the diner scene, and he just steps into that character. And I was kind of intimidated by him. I'm like, man, this guy, he's really
He is
serious.
a big
Wasn't that
guy.
really early in the shoot? Wasn't that like
Yeah, it was
first or
like
second day?
day 2.
Yeah.
And then I basically introduced myself to him between cuts, and he's like, as soon as I say cut, he goes from being this like, what are you doing? To, okay, sir, is there anything else you'd like me to do? Like, is this, am I doing okay? And it was really hot in that diner, so he kept wiping down the sweat. I'm like, no, you got this down. He's like, are you sure? Just anything you need, I'll give it to you. And just the kindest, sweetest soul of a man. And then you say action, like, you kids down on the ground. And it's unbelievable.
Love that. Okay, anybody else? Oh, right there. Hello.
Mr. Adam, so this is like your life's work, pretty much. What's it like?
Thanks. I've written like 15 books, Kobe.
He also has kids, by the way.
No.
child.
The hell with her.
What's it like seeing it just come to life and seeing all the posters and different
No,
cities?
it's
What's
fun.
it like seeing the trilogy come to life?
I'm writing 4, so. It's wild. It's wild as a horror film fan. As someone like I went to film school and I kind of was like I ducked out of film school thinking like I don't want to make movies. I want to tell my horror stories as a novelist. And then it took a weird 10-year circle, and then it came back around, and it's the weirdest, wildest thing. But I feel very, very blessed, and I'm just a big nerd because I'm just asking these guys like, process questions and film nerd questions, and
He's going to direct a film someday.
I don't know, but that's
Anyway, so breaking news: if we do get a sequel, we're gonna do it together as writers. Because
I would love that.
Because I think that he brings so much. I mean, it's his world, right? And I want Adam to be involved, and I want him to be on set as much as possible. And I want to bring this guy into the world of filmmaking because he writes novels that deserve to be written.
Thank you. I'm a little blindsided. That's beautiful. And yeah, please tell your friends to go see this movie on May 9th, because that
May
If it sucks, you ain't writing
that would be
anything.
fucking awesome. Wouldn't that be great?
And then there'll be a 2. Okay, so we gotta wrap it up here, but I just wanna go down the line, you guys, real quick. Favorite scary movie clown, you cannot say friendo.
The Kyotos, the Killer Clowns from Outer Space. Easy peasy.
Well, I gotta go. I'm gonna go Tim Curry, Pennywise.
That's what I was gonna take Tim
We're
Curry.
taking the good answers.
You
Going
also
last,
took the
BJ.
Killer Clowns.
You can do Skarsgård. I'll take Skarsgård as
Yeah,
well.
he does have
Do
the
art,
spit that
come
comes
on.
out of his mouth. That's scary.
No one's gonna take art.
Well, Art, we gotta compete with Art too.
You in the competition.
I am the
We're not
competition.
we're not in competition with Art. Look at him. He'll cut us in half.
I am
long
partial
ways.
to friendo actually. So.
We can take Art. You can take Art for sure.
All right, it's a tie. I'll take art and I'll take friendo actually.
All right, you guys, one more time. Let's give it up for Adam Cesare, Eli Craig, and BJ Verot. And Adam will be next door at TerrorVision signing books.